In the past year, the Austin City Council told city departments to make budget cuts. But KXAN found one expense keeps growing year after year: overtime pay. From 2015 to 2016, overtime pay jumped from $64 million to $71 million, according to records we requested from the city. That's an 11% increase. And so far this year, it is on pace to spend even more.
KXAN lead investigator Brian Collister's digging already has the city manager's office notifying council members overtime will be a big topic during budget planning this year.
Flames shot through the roof as firefighters responded to this apartment complex in northwest Austin back in March. The fire department tells us a third of those firefighters that were there that night were working on overtime. We found scenarios like this one are not uncommon. In fact, AFD tops the list of city departments racking up OT since 2015, nearly 1 million hours so far.
Overtime is high right now because we have an unprecedented number of vacancies that we have to fill.
The department says what's burning a hole through its overtime budget is not enough applicants, mass retirements, and a union contract allowing firefighters overtime even if they've taken vacation in that same time period.
This is not a good situation to be in.
It is not. And the one solution is we need to hire more people to work. And that's why we really are focusing on this current hiring process. We believe if we can have a successful hiring process and have 3 or 4 successful large cadet classes, that this overtime rate will go way, way down.
The department's top overtime earner is a fire battalion chief who added $86,000 on top of his salary of $120,000 last year. AFD says that's because of the job vacancies, and his overtime rate is higher than a regular firefighter.
David Zipper George, 8905.
The police department is second on that list. 5 of its employees have raked in more overtime than any other city employees. The police officer and 4 detectives more than doubled their base salaries in 2016 thanks to the OT pay. APD says most of its overtime comes from court appearances, staffing big events, and daily duties forcing officers to work late. But issues with city overtime are nothing new. When the city auditor last reviewed citywide overtime more than a decade ago in 2004, it found controls over the use of overtime are incomplete and inconsistently enforced. And the city of Austin places no limit on the number of hours worked. For answers, we went to city management.
Taxpayers expect you to watch every penny.
Absolutely.
So what would you say to a taxpayer who says, you're paying too much overtime, you need to bring that down?
Well, I think that's something that we would want to evaluate every year during the budget process. But number one, we want to make sure we're, in addition to the cost of labor, we want to make sure that the services that the taxpayers are getting are reflective of the amount of taxes that they're paying.
But look at what we found when we compared overtime in Austin to other major Texas cities. In 2016, Austin was only surpassed by Houston in overtime pay. Austin had more than twice as much OT as Dallas, and 3 times as much as Fort Worth. So impressed for what the city manager's office can do to bring down Austin's escalating overtime, the answer we got was responsibility falls on the mayor and council.
Doesn't the city manager's office oversee all the departments? Why wouldn't the city manager say, hey guys, we need to bring down overtime?
I think, if I may, what the city manager is charged with doing is making sure that the services are delivered to the city within the budget authority that the council has given the city manager.
Is there anything structurally in the contract that is contributing to the use of overtime?
After we reached out recently to each current city council member about overtime, District 10's Allison Alter brought up the issue in the very next council meeting.
We also need to solve this because it does have fiscal implications, and if we can save $3 or $4 million a year by not having excess overtime, then we need to do that.
Should taxpayers be concerned that the city is mismanaging overtime?
I'm not sure that the conclusion I would make is that we're mismanaging overtime as much as that we have certain challenges as a growing city that we need to address.
Now, one question we had, did the city budget for all this overtime?
In the past, yes, the budget has planned for an increase of OT, but many departments the city has still exceeded that amount. So here's a look at the top 10 city departments paying out the most overtime since 2015. And it's not just emergency services. After police and fire, then you have Austin Energy, followed by EMS. Next is Austin Water, Public Works, Austin Resource Recovery, Aviation, Convention Center, and Parks and Rec. Now, we reached out to all of those departments, and each has given us their reason for why their overtime numbers are what they are, and we've posted those on KXAN.com.
With all that reaction, we understand your investigation is already a big topic in the city manager's office.
Right. The city manager sent out this memo to all of the city councils saying that overtime will be the topic of discussion this next budget cycle, especially when it comes to public safety.
Brian, thank you. We know you'll stay on top of that for everyone at home. And if you have something you think we should investigate, email us at reportit@kxan.com.